As you can see, I have a lot going on this week. We're going to go back and talk about the progress I got done on my bike last week. But I want to talk about probably this top end today. I've got this set here. I've got that head, which that I'm going to wait on some parts because that's got some fancy stuff going in it. And then I've got this 61 top end that I need to do. So I think we'll focus on this for this video. We'll kind of bounce around, do some different things. But for today, we'll just do a cylinder. And, well, for today, it'll probably take me a couple days to finalize all of this. I'll bounce on and off of it. But I did the crank for this guy a couple weeks ago probably now, and now I'm going to be doing the head and cylinder. It's in great shape, very well taken care of. I mean, for a pre-unit, this thing is in amazing condition. I'm very impressed. And so the only thing I really found that's bad is somebody had popped a fin, got brazed back on, no big deal, but we're going to get it blasted. This is going to stay the same on the outside. His cases, both his transmission and engine cases, are all this finish. He had achieved himself, and so I'm going to avoid the outside of the head. I will do the interior properly, but we already got the guides out. They were a loose standard, so I think we're going to go with +2s, and then we will do the whole thing. So let's just jump into it. Earlier, you heard me say how nice this head was. I was complimenting quite a bit. I just kind of want to point out a few things. I get asked a lot, like, hey, is this head any good? There's really quick ways to look. Previously, with the guide still being in, would have been a good starting point as far as, are the guides loose? Do they look like they've been falling out? Do they look like one has fallen out in the past? So that's kind of a quick thing I look at, because guide problems are a quick way to just abandon a head, especially on something that's not like ultra rare. The next thing I look at on the top is gasket surfaces, and then these 4 corner rocker box bolts. A lot of times those get their threads completely pulled out. Somebody's ran wrong hardware down in it, whatever it might be. And then in extreme cases, if this is like dirty, or somebody will like fill it with silicone to try and stop a leak or something, and then they hydro lock it and then blow this whole corner out. And once that's happened, I don't even want to touch it. I might even have... Here's actually an example of that. So this one was full of silicone, and somebody just forced the bolt down in it, and it caused that whole corner to blow out. I don't deal with that. People do repair it. It could be repaired. If you had a ultra rare head or something really special, it would be worth doing. But like in this specific instance, I can find a replacement head and start over for cheaper than what I could do this and the 4 other repairs that this head needs. So it's just something to look at. If you're at like a swap meet or something, or digging through boxes of stuff, quick to look at those. The other thing I look at is on these outer bolts. Sometimes you'll see them completely smashed out and like mushroomed. Again, head gasket leak. People think you can just continue to tighten it and hopefully it'll stop. That's not true. You're just going to ruin things. So I always see these being over tightened. This head looks great. Let's jump into exhaust spigots. If those threads are gone, so if the spigot itself is like loose or cockeyed or whatever, or if the spigots are removed and the threads are pulled out, that's a big red flag. These look great. I mean, the threads in these things are just beautiful. Spark plug holes are the next one. Those can be repaired pretty easily, but it can dictate the value of the head. These spark plug holes look like they've never been abused, never over tightened. So gasket surface, bolt holes, rocker box bolt holes, the corners, make sure nobody's been wailing on them to get it off. So like that corner and that corner, people will take a hammer if the head is like kind of seized on, and they'll beat them off. It can cause damage. Fins, all the fins are intact on this thing. I just kind of scratched up even more, but head gasket surface, nice and flat, looks great. A big one with these pre-unit heads, a big one with an 8-bolt head. Between this bolt, well, the 4 corner ones, or the 4 inner head bolt holes can get cracked. Almost always guaranteed to be cracked between the hole itself and the seat. It's my go-to thing on pre-unit heads every time. If I pick up an 8-bolt, I immediately look at those 4 holes to make sure that they don't have that crack. If they are cracked, I do have a repair for that. You've seen it in other videos, but again, it dictates the value of the head. So those are kind of quick little things. Other than that, I mean, just overall visual damage, those are quick. If the valves are in, it's a little bit harder to tell, but I also like to look at the pocketing. I don't have a good head within reach for an example, but what happens is Triumph only cuts a 45 from the factory. So you have this hemispherical combustion chamber that blends into a 45. So it's just this very, very dramatic kind of slope into the seat. This one has probably never had a valve job, maybe one valve job, if that, prior to me getting in here. So it has this beautiful blend right down through, but it just has that single face. I'm going to put a 30, 45, 60 face in a 3-angle face. So that requires me to kind of remove some material away from where that 30 and 45 are going to meet. Well, more so where the hemispherical angle and the 30 meet. That needs to be kind of removed so I can blend it. So it gives the illusion of pocketing, but at the end of the day, that 45 original depth is going to stay, within thousandths of its original place. But that's why it's very important to get your guide aligned to the seat, because that dictates how much you're going to have to remove to then get a good seal on your valve. So as long as the alignment stays really good, that's just that much less material. I've seen guys that hammer those guides in crooked as hell, and then they go to cut the seat and they only cut on one side forever before they're deep enough to get it all realigned again. So just kind of some things to look at. If you pick up a head and this seat is just sunk all to hell, more than likely somebody got a hold of it that had no idea what they were doing and chased their tail and just made a mess of things. So all of the kind of main highlights, but that's what makes this head such a nice head, especially for being an 8-bolt head. These have been around long enough that they usually have been abused by a lot of people, but this one was very well taken care of. And the same goes for that cylinder, other than that one fin being broke, which, that, who knows, that could have just been a slip up. But just overall, all the components to this engine I've touched so far have just been really nice. So, but hopefully that kind of gives you an idea. I am now ready to install some guides, so I'm going to get that done. I actually just used up the last of my machined for seal valve guides from Kibblewhite, so I am going to match these two to the cut top for the seal. So it's really not that hard. I've done it a couple times. Luckily, Kibblewhite actually gives you all of the dimensions right here in the catalog, so I have that, plus I have a 4/1 that I can measure off of, just to make sure I've got everything good. But I'm going to cut those really quick, just cleaning up the lathe a little bit here, and then I will get those knocked out. Just takes about, a couple minutes, so not a big deal. Then we can get these bad boys in that head. I tried framing this up so you could watch while I worked, and it wasn't working, so we'll worry about that another time. I've got the overall length done. Nice little chamfer there. So now really all I have to do left is that all I have left is just that little recess there where the bottom of the seal holds on. So I will put in, I think I'm just going to use a parting tool that seems to fit just right. So I'll get that fitted up and just get that groove cut, and then this one will be done, and then I'll do one more. It's really not too bad. I actually kind of considered buying a bunch of like manganese bronze stock and try and make some guides, just, I don't know, just cause. But yeah, so next step. I don't know how well this will show up, but if you look at the lip on the inside of these seals, it's rounded. It's a nice, smooth, curved edge. It just won't focus. And then on the standard guide, it's a square 90-degree cut. Nothing wrong with that. They hold on just as they should. But I do have a radiused parting tool, and so I figured why not use that to match the radius of the seal. I don't think you're gonna be able to see it, but anyway, that's the only thing I did differently. Other than that, it's the exact same finish, same measurements, same dimensions, everything. I just, instead of doing that 90-degree relief in the center there for the seal, I just radiused it, so fits on there nicely, nice and tight, looks really good, sits as deep as it should. So now I'm going to do the other one. Many of you who have been watching all my videos will probably know that this was coming at some point, but can't have a Triumph video without talking about Dan. He sent, I get my Kibble White products from him, and he sent me this Hylamar product with that last shipment. We were talking about installing sleeves and all sorts of different stuff, and he told me I needed to try this. It's the Hylamar Advanced formula, and it's intended, I'm not going to try and read this on camera, that's not my skill set. Essentially, it's meant for between cylinder liners, and it says cam caps, electric motor end plates, and fuel injector gland nuts. So it doesn't have a film thickness, and so you can use it between things that have like an interference fit, and it will kind of fill in any imperfections. But it also makes a great lubricant for installing something like a guide or a sleeve or whatever. So it also says you can use it on like O-rings and stuff too. So kind of cool stuff. I'm going to definitely get this bottle used up and try it out. I'm already very, very happy with how it worked with these, installing these guides. So they're in. I am going to clean up the residual around them, and then we will hone the inside diameter. So that will be our next step here. I did a dry blast glass bead on all the carbon and everything. He wanted me to leave the exterior finish. I think we talked about that already. But I am probably going to hit this just with some Scotch-Brite balls and make it look nice and smooth and cleaned up. Make sure there's nothing really for carbon to stick to. So the finish isn't what I usually go for, but just to preserve this guy's patina, I just went ahead and left it alone. I like to check it with both the gauge pin I've got and then also the pilot that I'm going to use. So I'll kind of come back to it. I don't like to go too quick because, again, friction and heat definitely play a part. So I'll keep bouncing around between all of them. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, I don't think, but I did want to show what I got done. My brother was back, so we kind of knocked out the new engine placement. As you can see, we moved it quite a bit forward. My main focus was this case bolt down here was getting awful close to things, and so if you can look, That felt reasonable. We talked about going even further, but I didn't want to get too carried away, so it's less than a finger gap there now. But we went over a bunch of different ideas and just trying to kind of keep away from just doing a flat plate, and we came up with this. It needs final welded, but it's in place. I'm really happy with it. I don't know, we can go around the other side for that lower, but it definitely gets the engine much closer to the front, which I really liked, and then I actually have the bottom line level now. You can kind of see this did end up getting to be a little bit simplified. It's just the two tags on either side as the verticals, and then just a piece of square tube across the bottom. So just a clean look. After it's all black, it won't matter, but it's better than those giant just round lugs that were on there before. So just cleaner all around. I'm very, very happy with it, but this bottom line is level and the cylinder is level, so that was all that mattered to me. I'm really excited to get this on the ground again and look at it with the new stance. I also, when I did the mock-up of the front end, I added, I think, 1.5 or 2 inches back into the front end. So hopefully that's enough to get that wheel away from this, the two front down tubes. So if that took care of that, then I will be very happy. I'm also playing around with this oil tank. It's a Santee, I don't know how to say it, but I don't know. I'm a bit confused as to what I am going to do for the oil tank for sure. This might work, but I don't know. I'm okay with it, but I'm not sold on it. And then I don't know how much of this I've shown, but I've got my wheel all done up. I really thought I'd have a tire by now, but still hasn't arrived. I've got stainless steel bolts that I polished the heads on. Found an old chrome brake drum, got it polished up. I'm very, very happy with how that turned out. It's going to look bitchin'. So, yeah. And then Chris was supposed to mail me the gas tank today, so hopefully I see that soon. But once I get that tire in, this thing's going to go back on the ground so I can get kind of a stepped back look at it. But I'm very, very happy with the placement of the engine. I sent some photos around, and Tom Heavey actually kind of nailed it perfectly what I was trying to achieve. I didn't want to say anything. I wanted to see if I got my goal without having to tell anybody, but he said it looked like the engine was on display, like the engine's on a stand, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to kind of separate it. Traditionally that bottom tube would be really close and ride right along that belly, and then most people who do mess around with framework, they kind of bury that engine in, which looks great, don't get me wrong, but I just want to do something a little different. So that's why I have like these two almost vertical sections here that kind of suspend the engine up. So I'm happy with how it turned out. This is already getting me kind of excited for the next one. I need to stay focused on this one, but you know how that goes. You get excited and start making plans. I've got a lot of little things left to do, but I want to get that rear wheel on. Also, the other thing I was really excited about, this is actually lining up really well where the chain and sprocket is going to land beautifully, and the wheel is, as close to centered as I think I'll ever get. So I may have just a little bit of overhang on that tire, like the sidewall may be impeding into the chain area, but not enough for it to be dangerous. So I'm so pleased with that. I really thought I was going to have to favor one side with that rim. You usually do on a Triumph, so I don't know how I lucked out. I do have just a little bit of kind of shifted to the primary side, so I think that may have just gotten me enough to where I can keep this wheel nice and straight. So or centered, I should say. I'm very excited, very happy, very proud of how this is coming out. So, okay, good news. The tire is actually here. So this video is going to get hijacked a little bit. We'll still do that top end, don't worry. But I'm going to get this rim off, and I'm going to get that tire on there. So I'm really, really excited because then we're putting this thing on the ground. Well, I just spent all that time cleaning this up and then covered it in goo from putting that tire on, but it was worth it. I got that Shinko, the E270s. I just want to make sure. Shinko E270. I am in love with the side profile. It looks great. Obviously, it's got that retro zigzag tread, so it'll look the part. Yes, they're cheap. I got some people kind of ragging on me about running Shinkos. If you want to buy me some Firestones, I'll give you my P.O. box and you can send them my way. I'll run them. But for now, the money was spent on some different things other than some fancy tires. Shinkos work great. I like them. You can just about put them on by hand. They are a very pleasant tire to work with. But, man, this just looks perfect to me. One thing I'm pretty happy with was the alignment. I did talk about that, I think. Just how close everything got to where it was damn near center. I'm just very, very happy. I've done other Triumphs in the past when, the tire has to be so far away from the sprocket, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, do you center your fender to the frame, or do you center the fender to the tire and then have it look off when you look at the frame? So I'm really lucky. I do have just a little bit of a gap, so I'm going to get the new sprocket on, and then I'm going to check alignment. If it just tags the tire a little bit, that's not a big deal to me, self-clearancing. But if it is impeding too much, I could technically either move the rim over a little bit, or I've thought about maybe just gapping out the brake plate, the brake drum. So we'll see. I'm going to have this back apart multiple times, but, you got to kind of assemble it to figure things out. But I want to shift to the front. I got the chrome shrouds in from Hitchcock, and, man, it just looks so good. I do have some sorting to do. I need to figure out which combination, because these, I think, are... my buddy was saying that these are from a... Bullet, like a 90s Bullet. So they don't quite fit that top spacer as tight as the old black painted ones did. So I'll either make a new set of these, or I will look to see if maybe I can run a Bullet one, if they'll fit into that nacelle. So we'll figure out what combination I can do. But so there's a little bit of sorting to do. Obviously they need snugged up, but just overall, that assembly looks so good. I still haven't got to polishing those brake plates yet, but this is pretty close to what we're going to be looking at. But it just looks very, very good. I'm going to put this outside on Saturday and get it in the sun so we can look at it from far away. But I just was way too excited to get it on the ground. But I'm frustrated because I want to step back and look at it, from the distance. But it's fine. I'll talk about it more about like the frame rake and everything when I do get it outside. But we can go over all that later. I just kind of want to showcase this for tonight. But yeah, the contrast between the dull kind of matte engine, the whole Vapor Blast and the needle scale and all that, contrasted to this whole shiny front end, is just going to be so cool. And then obviously when we get the tank, that's going to be exciting. Little detail on there too. But I think I'm going to go ahead. The frame's going to get painted black. I think I'm going to go ahead and run the rear fender black too. I originally was going to polish up the aluminum Wazzle, but I think I'm just going to go with a steel Wazzle and paint it to match the frame. I'm kind of tired of polishing, I'd like to kind of keep the bright to the front and then just kind of dull everything. It'll be a black seat, black fender, pretty simple sissy bar, and then obviously the chromed out rear wheel looks good. But man, I'm getting very, very excited about this. I've said that 10,000 times, but it's so hard not to just keep coming over and looking at this thing. But we need to get back to making money. Which means we need to get back to our top end. I tried showing this in another video, and I think this is probably a better example of it, but I've got that carbide I modified to cut that relief back in. This one actually still had a decent amount. You can actually see on this side there was quite a bit left, but I just like to even it out, and now it is true and square to the bore. It cuts for quite a while before you get a full cut all the way around, so that's kind of how I can tell it's crooked. But yeah, now that should make him dropping these on and those rings going in beautifully and not causing any problems. So hopefully that kind of shows you a little bit better contrast of the that lead in. But I'm really happy that I'm doing that now, because it is making a considerable difference. But I've got this side done. I want to get this side done this morning really quick. And while this is running, I'll probably jump back and forth on doing some of the seat cutting. But I got to go flush that head out too and get all the hone oil off. I don't want to really get too much into doing valve seats on these, but I did want to kind of point something out. I'm hoping you can kind of get the contrast of... let me get a good pointer here. So if you look at where the hemispherical angle meets the seat on a factory valve seat, it has just a blend straight to the edge of the cast-in seat, and then that 45. And that's all Triumph did, was just cut a 45 there. When I'm doing it, I'm putting a 30, 45, 60 in. And so in order to get that 30 in without having like a full-on shelf cut into the edge of that seat, I have to then, it's called deshrouding. And so you take a radiused cutter and you kind of make that transition from the hemispherical angle to the 30 a little bit less aggressive, so it's not just a straight up drop down. I use the Peterson setup, and so I put the cutters in and cut that angle out with, I have a couple different shapes and different bits, but you can also get, I don't have any, but you can get them to go in your new weight cutter too. So it actually has like a radius edge, but I prefer to use the Peterson setup. So that's just kind of how I go about a valve seat, but I'm hoping you can, I got some Sharpie on there so you can see where the 45 is, and then I got some blue so you can see it on the valve face here, but I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. It just looks all shiny. So there is a nice narrow thin line through the center of that. Blue may not have been the right color, or the lighting's just too much. Not gonna work. Anyway, but you want a nice clean contact. Like I said, there's not much to see doing these seats, so I'm gonna focus on it too much. But I am happy with how these are turning out. But that kind of answers the whole illusion of like sunken seats, because realistically, I could get my valve stem protrusion measurement figured out, but I can actually get a number on how much deeper that 45 is going to sit than what it was before I started. It's usually not much. But when you go and look at it, it looks pretty aggressive just because of how much transition is going on. So, these new seats, or the original seat, it doesn't look bad at all. And then once I get in there, it looks like it's, dropped way down in there and hogged out. But realistically, it's not really sitting it's not sitting much deeper than what it already was. So, anyway, I'm going to move on, get the last 4 done. The cylinders are finished up, so I'll kind of bounce back and forth honing those too, so. All right, we've got 4 seats cut, 3 angle faces on each one, so I'm very happy with how that turned out. I can now move on and finish up the cylinders. I'm like halfway through honing those. But obviously I still need to finish assembling this. I have the top and bottom spring retainers that I need to blast and clean up. But so good to go with this, and now I can move on. As you can see, the combustion chambers are a little cleaner, or smoother, I guess. I just hit them with one of those Scotch-Brite balls to knock down any more textured surface that you would have got from the sandblasting or glass beading. But yeah, so now it's just a little less likely to attach to all the carbon right away. Got my marked out valves here. At the end of the day, I'm not really teaching you guys anything as far as how you're going to do this yourselves, but that's not really the point, and we've talked about that before. Realistically, what I'm trying to do is kind of give you a expectation and standard, maybe. Obviously, I'm not claiming to be 100% the best at this, but it's at least kind of like a baseline. So if you find a machine shop that you want to do work with, you kind of know what to ask or what to expect. I've corrected a lot of heads that came from shops that shouldn't have been doing it, I guess would be the nicest way to put it. They're qualified to do other jobs, but maybe not to take the time on a Triumph or any other real British bike head. What ends up happening is they kind of treat it the same as they would a cast iron head, just off of some old Ford or something that could probably take a lot more, I don't want to say abuse, but they could probably handle the job that they're used to doing. These Triumph heads are in no way capable of handling the fast and dirty job. I mean, it's not a downplay of the work being done as much as it's just a comment on how these aren't exactly the nicest heads. All right, now we can do the other side. Stay down there. So I really like making sure all of your keeper gaps are the same, kind of face them all the same direction. Just looks nice, and you know, if you have them nice and gapped out evenly, it's less likely to spit one. Kind of upsets me when somebody just throws them in and they're all, you know, favoring one side over the other. If you look, you can see, maybe not, there should be an even gap on both top and bottom. Same with that one, same with that one. So it just looks nice to have them all face the same way. I don't know if you can see that or not. Either way, get this final valve in.
This video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Click the link in the description.
And we don't want that in the background.
83% off for 2 years plus 3 months for free. This is going to be a bit of a weird. For the past while, I've been doing a series where I've been.
It's really important to get these nice and tight because this is where you start to run into troubles with these spigots when they start coming loose and they hammer themselves, and you get, you know, all the threads to pull out. It's not good. So you want to make sure you get them nice and tight. I put high temp sleeve retainer in there. That way I can really ensure that they're not going to rattle loose. It's also really important that you make sure your exhaust pipes are anchored in more than one place, so the spigot isn't actually a structural component of keeping them in place. You know, if you have 2 other mounting points per pipe, that's going to take all of the work of the actual rigidity and holding the pipe up instead of relying on your spigot to do it. That is not the job of the spigot, so don't think that having a clamp up there is doing you anything other than just sealing your pipe to your head.
One of the rare times when they're actually allowed to sleep and then make.
And so Bert relished the opportunity to point out how bad his younger big brother is, because apparently Tom just doesn't care. He lives in the moment, says what he wants, and does what he wants.
I bought it in 92. The year before, in 92, was a deep cover. I bought that. And you're still like, dude, it's crazy.
Yeah, everybody is this. Like, he just seems so much drunker than he was. You know?
Yeah,
it's crazy how losing. Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Losing
One lens.
That's insane, I feel like.
Yeah.
Losing a glass. Yeah, your kids are like, nah, forever. Looking at this one,